Hi everyone, my name is Marc and I'm excited to present our recent study, Auditory, Visual or Both, comparing visual and auditory representations of game elements in a gamified image tagging task. Gamification is the use of game elements in non-game contexts. To give it a brief example, in the popular language learning app Duolingo, users can see their progress all the time, continue daily streaks of lessons which will break if they do not exercise for a day, and unlock a huge range of badges and can even level them up. Gamification has become a popular approach to increase engagement in various tasks, and much of the research so far has focused on visual elements such as points and badges. However, there is limited research on the effects of auditory gamification, despite its potential to influence user experience and behavior, and it being part of gamified experiences such as Duolingo, where celebratory sounds, for example, congratulate you on finishing your exercise. Our study aimed to explore two primary questions. First, to what extent does audio affect user experience and behavior in a gamified task, which has been used in gamification research in the past, so in our case image tagging. And second, how does sound effect gamification compare to visual gamification? So in how far can sound effects as feedback alone already motivate users? To answer these questions, we conducted a range of studies. I will only go into detail about study 2 and 3 here, but in short, with the first study we tried to find matching sound effects for the gamification element points and badges, which we would then use subsequently in the other studies. We focused on the commonly researched game element points and badges and examined how these are perceived in a gamified image tagging task, an approach which has been taken in past gamification research already. What you can see here is our custom-built tagging platform where our participants tagged images. This platform allowed us to measure the impact of each gamification modality on tagging behavior by counting the amount of tags submitted by each participant. On the right, you can see what the gamification looked like with points on the upper right and badges in the center below. Our study involved 120 participants, with 109 remaining after exclusions. The study was designed as a between subjects experiment where participants were randomly assigned to one of the four conditions: no gamification, visual gamification, auditory gamification, and audiovisual gamification. We had three main hypotheses. First, we aimed to replicate existing research, expecting that visual gamification would result in more tags than not using gamification at all. Secondly, we hypothesized that the presence of an auditory modality would influence the number of tags. And thirdly, we expected that the modality of gamification, so audio-visual or audiovisual, would affect the overall user experience. The direction of the effects was unclear at that point, which is why the hypothesis is non-directional. We measured performance through tag count and user experience through several established scales: the intrinsic motivation inventory, the activity flow state scale, as well as the self-assessment mannequin. Overall, our participants tagged 3 tutorial images to get a feeling for the task, and afterwards 15 images in the actual study trial. Our results revealed that visual gamification led to a significantly higher number of tags compared to no gamification, supporting our first hypothesis. However, contrary to hypothesis 2, the presence of auditory gamification did not significantly impact tag quantity. When it came to user experience, though, the audiovisual condition generally provided the best results for our participants, enhancing flow in terms of goal clarity, concentration on the task, unanimous feedback, the challenge skill balance, as well as their sense of control, which supports our third hypothesis. In addition to the quantitative study, we conducted semi-structured interviews with a different sample afterwards to gain deeper insights into participant preferences and perceptions. We focused on their gamification preferences, sound perception, attention, and motivation. The interviews were conducted with 9 participants in a within-subjects design, so this time all participants would experience all gamification varieties. This allowed us to directly compare their feedback across different gamification modalities this time. Following the interviews, we created a codebook from which we derived several themes. Starting with theme 1, participants generally found visual gamification motivating, but it sometimes led to distraction, received low attention, and was perceived as lacking meaning. For this video, I would like to highlight the distraction part, as our participants felt like the visual gamification distracts them from the visually intensive image tagging task, which will be relevant in one of the later themes again. With theme 2, we found that sound effects were perceived as motivating and attention-grabbing, but they could cause confusion as it wasn't at all times clear what they were trying to communicate. Theme 3 refers to the fact that especially the point sound would be repeated very often, and for some participants this was perceived as annoying, meaning that loudness, pitch and frequency play a role in how the individual sound effect is perceived. Now theme 4 is where audio and visual gamification in combination cancel out the weaknesses from theme 1 and 2, meaning that while visual gamification was perceived as distracting and auditory gamification didn't always have a clear meaning to our participants, in combination they felt less distracted because they would receive the auditory feedback without having to divert their visual attention, but at the same time had an always available explanation of the sound effects through the visual elements if needed. Interestingly, and this complements this last theme, most participants preferred the audiovisual condition as it provided the most clarity and engagement. Our findings replicate some aspects of previous work but also offer new insights. We observed that auditory gamification alone did not significantly impact performance, though it influenced user experience. Audiovisual gamification emerged as the most effective approach, enhancing motivation, concentration, and the overall sense of control among other factors. In conclusion, while sound effects have the potential to enhance gamified experiences, they are most effective when combined with visual elements. This insight could guide the design of more engaging and balanced gamified systems in the future. Thank you for watching. If you want to know more, please refer to our paper or feel free to reach out to us.